Hi guys, Pigmoon here with yet another video. We have been uncovering the Indian Armed Forces, especially the Air Force side, with much success recently. So I wondered, did the Indian Navy do in combat readiness? Let's find out more about her aircraft carrier today. I was researching the topic and found a passing line that navigation, or I guess surface navigation or river navigation, originated 5 millennia BC in the Indus Valley, but I couldn't find anything else on it at all. Perhaps it was an error or an enthusiastic local that actually modified the post on the Wikipedia about it. But there has been too many false claims on my channel recently about India discovering trigonometry, discovering flying. So I really take everything with 2 pinches of salt. Okay, back to the topic. The Indian Navy traces her roots back to the East India Company in the 1600s, but it was only after the 1830s that she was called Her Majesty's Indian Navy. Thus, from then to now, about 180 years so of history, and her first aircraft carrier was the INS Vikramaditya, which was a World War II Majestic class RN carrier. And this particular carrier was laid up after completion and never even commissioned in the Royal Navy before it was sold to India in 1957. The second carrier was the INS Virat, which was acquired in 1987, again from the Royal Navy. Previously the HMS Hermes, and I think this aircraft carrier participated in the Falkland War in 1982, and it is due to be commissioned actually this month, or decommissioned this month. That leaves the only operational carrier as the INS Vikramaditya, ex-Russian Kiev class Admiral Gorshkov, which was I think commissioned back in the 80s as Baku, was sold to India in 2004. This was immediately followed by an 8-year refit and multiple disputes about the price and the project ongoing. Original price was that the carrier was actually free, but India had to pay a USD 800 million for a refurbishment. By the time it was completed in 2012, India paid a total of 2.33 billion USD. After threats by Russia that they will discontinue the project if India did not pay up more. Essentially, they were fleeced 2.9 times the original price and willingly paid up. I guess money, in their opinion, cannot be better spent because there's such a great threat that the Indian Navy needed to counter in the Indian Ocean. But was there or is there such a threat? The major modification was the replacement of the foredeck, which was actually housing missile launchers into a ski jump. So why the missile launchers were in the foredeck? In the Russian service, Admiral Gorshkov was actually not totally classified as an aircraft carrier due to treaty limitations, but I think a aircraft cruiser, if I'm not wrong. The Vikramaditya is a stow bar carrier, which is a start takeoff but arrested recovery, which means it isn't equipped with a steam catapult, which the Americans have, but using an angled ski jump to launch the aircraft. There are a few advantages in the stow bar carriers, which include 1. High thrust weight ratio aircraft only, because there's no launch assistance from any steam catapult or similar, so it limits to MiG-29 or Su-33. Previously was the Harrier, but I think Harrier has all been decommissioned. But the Indian Navy prefers the MiG-29K due to its smaller footprint. And why smaller footprint? Refer to the fourth point. Secondly, lower takeoff weights. This is another disadvantage. That means you can either load less armament or less fuel, so shortens the range or shortens the capability of the aircraft. 3. Inability to launch fixed-wing airborne early warning aircraft because of the size of the aircraft required for a fixed-wing radar, early warning radar. 4. As mentioned in point 1, the stow bar carriers are typically smaller in deck size and it limits the number of aircraft on deck, and therefore a slower launch or launch times compared to a steam catapulted conventional carrier. So point 5, carrier must maintain 20 to 30 knots into the wind to generate enough forward wind speed or forward airspeed for the aircraft to quickly even launch from an angled deck. Thus, the combat effectiveness of a stow bar carrier is called into question, as the entire group actually has to maneuver in the sea while attempting to launch an aircraft, and it's quite harsh, the requirements, and this is the 20 to 30 knots into wind. And let's look at the preferred MiG-29K that the Indian Navy has chosen. Aircraft was delivered in 2009 before the carrier was ready, and it's still equipped with a pulse Doppler radar, but a reverse antenna that is electronically scanned, similar to the Indian Air Force MiG-29s, and still is about 2 generations behind the latest fighters. This is fighter radars. But there are very few options available for carrier operations of this sort. So the MiG-29 was preferred because of its smaller size and ability to launch more aircraft in the same amount of time by increasing number of aircraft on deck. The navalized MiG-29K has a varied air-to-ground weapon loadout, which includes KH class missiles and anti-radiation missiles from Russia. Air-to-air weaponry are Russian origin, the R class. But I guess they would have also integrated the Israeli air-to-air weapons as well. So this will allow MiG-29K to be adapted for both fleet defense as well as maritime strike missions. But at this moment, we are unable to ascertain the competency of the Indian Navy pilots because there isn't a benchmark or much of a benchmark to be with. And the weaknesses of lack of a fixed-wing AAW, which is actually carried by a helicopter in this case with a shorter endurance, and the MiG-29K's I would say older radar makes the carrier a prime target in open conflict. So the ability to detect threats and neutralize them effectively and quickly is much lower because of the delayed launch time, lack of AAW, etc. So in this case, I guess Indian Ocean is not that big an theater, but if the carrier or the carrier group strays too near to the main continents that's outside of India, there is a chance that she's prone to be sunk by those modern carrier killer land-based missiles, or even the sea launch cruise missiles. I would think that the entire battle group will be made up of one carrier, a couple of destroyers and support ships, maybe 1 or 2 frigates, and maybe 1 submarine. So again, not very big in size, similar to Russian deployments in Syria recently, and not very effective. Like or subscribe or add a comment at the bottom, and we can further this discussion and whether this whole thing is actually moving or not. Thanks for watching.